Where's that camera? Right there. There you are. There you are. There you are. I see you. I see you. Wake up, everyone. Gather round. Gather round. Gather round, clowns. Michael Moulton, M2 The Rock. That's right. Back, baby. M2 The Rock coming to you live from Dallas, Texas, baby. D-Town, the center of America. That's right, the center of America. My name is Michael Moulton. I'm your host tonight on M2 The Rock, where we talk about drug addiction. That's not all we talk about. We also talk about alcoholism. Yep, alcoholism. Alcohol is a drug, okay? So it is a drug, okay? We also talk about hurts, habits, and hangups. Yeah, we talk about that too. We talk about suicide awareness. We talk about anger, resentment. We talk about, we talk about a lot of stuff. We talk about a lot of stuff on this show. But most importantly on this show, we talk about solutions. That's right. We talk about spiritual solutions for my human problems. Because see, I have radical solutions for very, very simple problems. Michael, you say that a lot. M2, you say that a lot. What do you mean by that? Let me tell you what I mean by that. If I get a splinter in my pinky toe, my solution to remove the splinter is to cut my leg off, right? Radical solutions for simple problems. We talk about that on this show. We talk about spirituality. We talk about God. We talk about complete abstinence. We talk about pain. We talk about depression. We talk about grief. We talk about all of that on this show. This show is brought to you by DFW Coin and Jewelry. My man, Kristen Oyster. That's right. DFW Coin and Jewelry here in Dallas. They have an incredible outfit where they buy and sell jewelry, gold coins, silver coins, all that. Hit them up. Hit them up. We always have this link in the feed. And also Healing Springs Ranch. Healing Springs kind of makes sense. Healing Springs Ranch is a residential treatment center 1 hour north of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, tucked away on 80 acres. It's beautiful, okay? It's beautiful. So if you want to get clean and sober, what a beautiful place to get clean and sober, right? So anyways, I'm there on Thursdays. A lot of the residents, alumni watch the show. Appreciate your support. But hello, everyone at Healing Springs Ranch. I'm there on Thursdays to perform group. That's right. So I'm there on Thursdays and we do a group for an hour. We go to lunch together. Then we do group after that. And I share with them on how I stay sober in the real world. Okay. I'm not a licensed therapist. I'm not a counselor. I'm not qualified for any of that stuff. That's why they have a licensed therapist sitting in group with me. But we go in and we do support groups and they are powerful. They are powerful and they help me so much. Okay. They help me so much. So I love being a part of their clinical team. I get to be the voice of the addict. I get to be the voice of the alcoholic. And I get to translate how we think and how we act and operate. And I'm also very grateful because I get to see my character defects live on stage. That's right. Can y'all hear me okay? Can y'all hear me okay? I've been having some mic problems and I want to make sure the mic is working. So I also need y'all to participate on Monday. I need you to participate and provide questions in the comments. Questions about recovery, life, spirituality, or anything that you have that you want to share, because your questions might just save someone's life today, okay? It might save my life today. So got a lot going on this week. We're back full time. I appreciate y'all's respect. I took some time off. I get tired. You know, I do this 5 nights a week. Been doing this for coming up on 3 years in December. And there's just times where I got to take a break. I got to reboot. I got to re-get information. I feel like I'm being repetitive, but you know what? That's recovery, because it's a simple program for complicated people like me. And I've got to hear the same thing over and over and over. Plus, the world's a different place today. I actually got a really cool phone call today. I get it all the time, but Judge Bennett called me today. I was doing my walk, and I was talking on the phone, and Judge Bennett beeped in, and I clicked over, and I said, "Hey, Judge, what's going on?" And she said, "Hey, I'm just calling, checking on you." And I shared with her that I attended a noon support group meeting today online on Zoom. And I told her, I said, I'm struggling because these support group meetings are, man, they're getting old for me. They're just the Zoom meetings. And maybe I was just in a funky place today, but I'm not feeling the connection that I feel when I go into a room, dapping it up with someone, sitting in a room, and being connected to human beings. Okay. If I'm feeling that way, I can only imagine for people who really like connection, because I know this is hard for y'all to believe. Okay. I'm a loner. I really am. I am a loner. I stay to myself. I like being alone. But right now I'm really starving for connection. So it was a tough day today. Not tough. I mean, it was just different. I didn't get what I wanted out of the meeting, probably because I was into my head. They actually called on me to share in the meeting. And I said, listen, I think it's real safe that I just listen today, because if I share and start thinking on my feet and start speaking from here and not here, we might all go to the penitentiary. Okay. So the Zoom meetings, I'm really struggling today with. Who knows? Tomorrow might be different. Let's see here. We got some questions coming up here. So I just watched a bunch of stuff, this new age religion, law of attraction, oneness, all that stuff, and how it's demonic. I know you're a man of God. Well, what's your viewpoint of that? Brian, that's a good question. It is, I've shared this before, the difference between religion and spirituality. Okay. This is M2's take on it. When it comes to religion, I want to be real clear about this. When it comes to religion, all right, M2 is an atheist. I mean that. I said that. I meant that. I represent that. I'm all about that. Okay. I'm an atheist. When it comes to spirituality, the word of God, okay, the word of God, and from this book right here, okay, I'm sharing that because it's what's working for me, okay. The word of God, I'm all in. I am all in. So when these new types of religions and beliefs come in, man, that's great. That is a luxury I don't have. It just confuses me, and I can't do it. I've got to stay focused on the word of God, because that's what works for me. Okay. Real simple. Matthew 6:14. Real simple. God says, Michael, if you forgive the ones who have hurt you, I will bless your gain. End of discussion. Okay. In the discussion, in order for God to set me free, I must forgive everyone around me. That's all I need to hear. That's all I needed to hear. I don't need all these laws and stuff right there. So welcome to the show. I want to say hello. If you're listening to us on iHeartRadio or Spotify, iTunes, when I am saying hello to people, this show is a visual show. So check us out on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and you can watch and see faces and names in the feed. It's a community. It's a community where we discuss things on the show. And I want to do some shout outs. I see Timothy. Let's see here. I'm kind of sad, but I'm totally over the Zoom meetings. I miss my coffee commitment. That's real talk. I do miss the recovery group coffee pot. So it is really good stuff. Hello, Boston Durkin. Welcome to the show. Boston Durkin is a past guest of the show and shared his experience, strength, and hope. So if you haven't, check out Boston Durkin. BNN News. So he is out there spreading awareness and educating, and he's entertaining. I'll tell you, Boston Durkin is entertaining. And so go check him out. So, all right. So Joanne Jensen, let's see what you got, Joanne. M2, I can say that prayers have been answered to many things in my life. Still struggling with the world and this pandemic. Just had a friend pass from it. Joanne, wow. I'm sorry to hear that. I truly mean that. This is a real deal. I mean, and it's I'm still struggling with the world. I tell you, I was sharing the other day about this, and actually my brother, I had lunch with my brother last week, and he was talking about it. He actually said some cool stuff, that the pandemic has brought his family closer. That was good to hear. And they're putting their phones down and they're spending time together. That was really good to hear them talking about that. And I told him, I said, this pandemic's been very easy for me because being incarcerated, I know how to do time, right? I know how to do time. I enjoy this. I go for 3 walks a day. Judge Bennett called me, today while I was on the walk. I was talking to my new friend on the phone, Carol, and I said, I got to go. This is Judge Bennett. And Judge Bennett calls. I got to bounce and get off and answer. And, I walk 3 or 4 times a day. So I'm doing about 5 miles a day walking. And it just feels good. I put Dr. Tony Evans in. In fact, as a matter of fact, I'm going to share with y'all today some suggested readings that M2 dips into. So, and I'm going to really dedicate and commit one day at a time of getting back into my readings to create some content for all of us. So, but anyways, I can relate, Joanne, and it is a different time. Once again, my suggestion on that is on page 417 of a very, very good self-help book, Alcoholics Anonymous, page 417. They have another version. It's page 449. It's about acceptance. Okay. Let me read that to y'all. So acceptance, it's one of my favorite words in recovery. I actually have it tattooed on my arm. Acceptance. How do I know if I've accepted things? How do I know if I'm doing it right? How do I know if I'm doing it right? Okay, I hear acceptance, but how do I know if I'm doing it right? Okay. All right. So here's acceptance. True acceptance has no resentments, right? True acceptance has no resentments. So Joanne, I suggest that and everybody to read this. And I'm suggesting this to myself. And this is the power of community and the power of connection. Joanne asked a simple question. Look, it gets me back on acceptance. And this is what it says. If you haven't read the story in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, acceptance was the answer. Okay. This is about a doctor who literally said he thought his wife was crazy. He thought his wife was losing her mind. And he took her to a psychiatric ward. Okay. And in this book, it says, and when he took her to drop her off, okay, they shut the door and she went home and they kept him. Right? They kept him. And this guy is an IV narcotic user. This is back in the day. He said, I had already given up all narcotics, most of the pills, and some of the alcohol when I first came to AA. Now, keep in mind, we don't represent any support group. I respect all these groups. I'm just reading out of a publicly sold book. Okay. By early July, I had tapered off alcohol completely and got off pills in the ensuing months. When the compulsion to drink left, it was relatively easy to stay off alcohol. But for some time, it was difficult to keep from taking a pill. When I had an appropriate symptom, such as a cough, pain, anxiety, insomnia, or muscle spasm or upset stomach. Can y'all relate to that? I love this story because this guy is a dope head, man, just like me. I took a pill for everything. I mean, if this wasn't right, I took a pill. If I needed to wake up, I took a pill. If I needed to go to sleep, I took a pill. If I felt anxious, I took a pill. So I was eating pills all the time. That's what I love about this. Acceptance was the answer. So if you're the type that like, I don't have a problem with alcohol, I'm a drug addict, read Acceptance. Okay. It has gotten progressively easier. Today, I feel I've used up most right to chemical peace of mind. I love that. I have used up my right to chemical peace of mind. I love that. So what he says, he goes, at the very end, he comes down and he has this awakening. Okay. And he says, at last, acceptance proved to be the key to my drinking problem. What? Yeah, let me read that again. At last, acceptance proved to be the key to my drinking problem. When I stopped living in the problem and began living in the answer, the problem went away. That is the mission statement for Into the Rock. That's what we do on this show right here. Okay. Right here on this show is that we stopped living in the problem and began living in the answer, and the problem went away. Okay. Here we go. From that moment on, I have not had a single compulsion to drink. I can relate. I can relate to this. And acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. When I am disturbed, it is because I find some person, place, thing, or situation, some fact of my life unacceptable to me. And I can find no serenity until I accept that person, place, thing, or situation as being exactly the way it is supposed to be at this moment. Nothing, absolutely nothing happens in God's world by mistake. Did y'all hear that? Nothing, absolutely nothing happens in God's world by mistake. Okay. God doesn't make mistakes. I don't think you heard me. God doesn't make mistakes. So if you're watching this or listening to this right now, you are worthy. You have a purpose. You're not a mistake. You are not a mistake. Okay. God is worthy. God is victorious in everything. Scott Forrest, murder sucks. Pain hurts. We hear you, Scott. Hear you, Scott. Get a little more detail, Scott. Let us know how we can help you. Do you have a question? We'd love to help you out. We're glad you're here, Scott Forrest. It's so amazing to see all these great people. Nothing, absolute nothing happens in God's world by mistake. Until I could accept my alcoholism, I could not stay sober. Unless I accept life completely on life's terms, I cannot be happy. I need to concentrate not so much on what needs to be changed in the world as on what needs to be changed in me and my attitudes. Come on, man. I mean, after reading that, how can you not feel good? Let's see here. I got you, Scott. Well, good. Well, welcome to the show. I just wanted to check in with you. You said that was powerful stuff right there, and I want you to know that you've been heard. Hello, Kelly. Hello, Brian, Connie Rice. Everybody, welcome to the show. This is an open show. This is your show tonight, okay? So if you're listening to us on audio version, welcome to the show. Real quick, before we get into it, special shout out. I've just committed. I'm going to be on a show Sunday night in Utah. Just got invited. The Recovering Addict. I actually reached out to them. I was watching this LT and his co-host doing a show. I love what they do. I love what they say. I love what they're doing. They're in solution. And I catch myself listening to every word that they're saying. I also comment on it. So I don't watch much social media. I don't get on it that much, but I did watch this, and I'm looking forward to being on their show this Sunday night, 9 o'clock Central Time, 8 o'clock Mountain Time. Tomorrow night, don't miss tomorrow night, Hannah Faubert with Hef Recovery is going to be on the show tomorrow night, okay? Hannah Faubert is going to be on the show tomorrow night. She is a recovery coach. She is the owner of Hef Recovery. They are recovery coaches, and we're going to really get deep into what is a recovery coach? What does a recovery coach do? How do you qualify to become a recovery coach? What do they charge? I mean, how does all this work? And are they a sponsor? I mean, how does that work? So we're going to talk about that. All right. Need your questions. So hello, Kelly Maureen Forback. Thank you so much for watching the show. Kelly Maureen, she's been with us since day one. Kelly's been riding with us for almost 3 years. So Kelly, we appreciate you so much. Spiritual principles of recovery. Spiritual principles. Do you know what are spiritual principles of recovery? What are the principles of recovery? Do you live by the spiritual principles of recovery? What's your favorite spiritual principle of recovery? We're going to talk about that here in just a little bit. But before, I've had so many people ask me what books I read, what do I study in to talk about. And obviously, we have talked about this book. This is the Life Recovery Bible, New Living Translation. So I look at this. I love this because it breaks down the 12 steps from a biblical standpoint. The 12 steps have born from the Bible. And I love this because this actual book, the Life Recovery Bible, talks about the history of 12-step recovery. And of course, they talk about Alcoholics Anonymous and how Bill and Bob put it together in the 12 steps. Along with this recovery Bible, there are other books that you can get. The 12 Laws, Life Recovery, which I love, the 12 laws of it. Do you know the 12 laws? The 12 laws of recovery. This is a great book. It says the law of powerlessness, okay? The law of humility, the law of connection, right? The law of willingness, the law of sacrifice, the law of faith, the law of surrender, the law of service, the law of forgiveness. Ooh, I may do a show on that one. The law of forgiveness. We all need a little of that, right? Because what gets us to rock bottom? It's not drugs and alcohol, resentments, right? Resentments. They're doing it to me. All right. So the 12 laws, the life recovery, got that. Then we've got the 12 gifts of life recovery that go along with this Bible that I have. So I love this, the gifts of recovery, the 12 gifts. So this is a great, easy read, very easy read. And then we have the life recovery workbook. This is the life recovery workbook. So you can work through the 12 steps from a biblical standpoint if you choose to go that route. So the life recovery workbook, I highly recommend, endorsed by M2, like I got pulled. Okay. I also read this, the 12 steps and 12 traditions. All these can be bought on Amazon. It can be bought on, anywhere you buy books. These can be purchased. The 12 steps, 12 traditions. I also read the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. That works for me. I've got some other books. I haven't gotten into it. I will tell you this, the book Narcotics Anonymous, I love that book. It's it's an easier version. It actually lays the steps out easier for me to read. The Alcoholics Anonymous book is written back in 1939. Narcotics is, written a little later than that. Or earlier than that, whatever the right word is. This was just given to me. I'm looking forward to this. Julie, the program director at Healing Springs Ranch, gave me this. It's a gentle path through the 12 steps. So I'm looking forward to, I haven't even started this, but the gentle path through the 12 steps, the classic guide for all people in the process of recovery. So there is, yes, mine is literally a big book. I need large print, but so I'm looking forward to looking at this. I mean, the 4-step inventory, all of this. So care for your body, connect with the earth, be as a child. So I'm really looking forward to getting into this. And then my man, y'all know my love towards Dr. Tony Evans, 30 days to overcoming addictive behavior by Dr. Tony Evans. Let me read this to you. This is really good. If y'all don't mind, I want to read this to you. This is called Taking Control of Your Mind by Dr. Tony Evans. And I love this. This is, once again, 30 days to overcoming addictive behavior. The more sober I get, the more spiritual I feel like I become. Okay. I also start really realizing and understanding that alcohol and drugs is not my problem, right? I have a spiritual stronghold of addiction. When I'm in active addiction, I have the spiritual stronghold of addiction, okay? Because, I truly believe it's the disease. I do believe I had the allergy. I believe all of that in the doctor's opinion, okay? That when I drink or take narcotics, the phenomenon of craving occur. But the things that baffle me, like why, when I broke my leg, okay, and they administered narcotics into my body, which was about a year ago, okay, a little over a year ago, when that happened, why did I not start craving drugs and alcohol? Why wasn't that craving there? And I truly believe because my spiritual connection was here and drugs and alcohol were here. If I would have gone into the hospital with a broken leg and no spiritual connection, no recovery, then the drugs, the narcotics would have been, my God. I would have said, I found it. I found a spiritual awakening. And that's why that the brain processes pain as pain. Does that make sense? Let me go on a bunny trail real quick. Melissa Caldwell Ingle with Healing Springs Ranch was on the show, and she talked about that. The brain processes pain as pain. A broken leg, that is pain. We know that pain is also the same as depression or trauma or PTSD. The brain processes that as pain. So if I go into the hospital with a broken leg and a lot of trauma, and they administer narcotics, and I have no spiritual connection, no recovery, no program, guess what happens? The narcotics take the pain away, not only the leg, but the trauma. So when I leave the emergency room, man, I'm eating every pill I can get to keep that pain level down. So I hope y'all can relate. That makes sense. All right. Day one. Let's read this. Day one. This is 30 Days to Overcoming Addictive Behavior by Dr. Tony Evans. He says this: a POW is a prisoner of war, a person who has been captured by the enemy and is held hostage in the context of a conflict. The opposing forces control the prisoner's living conditions, activities, and movements. Many Christians live like POWs, but rather than prisoners of war, they are prisoners of addictive behavior. They have been captured by the enemy, and there appears to be no way of escape. They feel trapped in situations and circumstances that the world labels as addiction. Now, hear me out on this. Drugs, sex, pornography, alcohol, relationships, negative self-talk, work, food, gambling, spending, etc. These things can become the go-to coping mechanisms for life's pain, disappointments, and boredom. When an action or activity begins to influence you more than you influence it, it can leave you feeling trapped, as there were no way out. I sometimes compare addictive behavior to quicksand. The harder you try to get out of the situation, the deeper you sink. Human methods and mechanisms can never set you free from a spiritual dependency. Rather, these attempts will make you sink faster, just as if you were struggling to escape from quicksand. I love this. This is just a little teaser of Your Life Can Be Different, 30 Days to Overcoming Addictive Behavior by Dr. Tony Evans. So y'all check that out. Y'all can download that on iBooks or however all that high-tech stuff works on that. So, all right, I'm looking for your questions. The narcotics became your higher power and comfort. That's right, Brian. That's exactly right. So we think we had a spiritual awakening, right? As drug addicts and alcoholics, I am addicted to the feeling of, If you're new to the show, what is addiction? What is addiction? Addiction is this. Ready? Addiction for me, this is my definition of addiction. Jen Sugarmeyer. Everybody say hi to Jen. Jen's a past guest on the show. Good to see you, Jen. Super proud of you. Addiction. For me, my definition of addiction is it's a person, place, or thing that has my life completely unmanageable and I am powerless over it. Okay? Whoa, hold on. Breaking news. Breaking news. This is how we remove stigma. Look at this right here. Celebrating 11 years today. The feeling I'm assisted to that. Congratulations. Look at that. Caldwell Counseling Center. I know that he's been watching the show here recently for the last couple of months. Caldwell Counseling Center, thank you so much. Congratulations on 11 years today of sobriety. We would love to, I know I've gotten words that you've reached out wanting to be on the show. Message us again and let's get you on the show. Congratulations, everybody, right now. Just hashtag CCC. Hashtag CCC, Caldwell Counseling Center. Wow, that is breaking news right there. Congratulations. That is awesome. 11 years. 11 years. How in the heck do you stay clean and sober for 11 years? Let me tell you how I've done it for 3.5. I trust God. I keep my house clean, and we continue to help others, right? We continue to help others. Hashtag CCC. Connie Rice, welcome to the show. We appreciate you. What is addiction? Addiction is, this is my definition. I realized that at a young age, I felt like I was different. I really did. I felt like when I would see people walking, they're laughing and they're having fun. I really believed that they did not think the way that I thought. I believe that that no one felt anxiety. I truly believe that no one else felt sad. I believe that no one else was scared. I believe that they really just lived on, I was on a different planet. And I will never forget that first time that I had a sip of alcohol. And I was 10 years old and I drank this beer. And every time I tell a story, I remember it like it was yesterday. If you ever heard me tell my story, I remember the direction the lawnmower was facing. I remember the temperature. I remember the number of the clouds in the sky. I remember the barometric pressure. I remember the direction of the wind. I remember it. And I drank that beer. It was a Schlitz beer with a pull cap that you could flick out in the street. Remember this, old schools? Okay. I drank that beer and it went into my stomach, and my stomach melted like icing on a cake. And I felt 6 foot tall. And I had a bounce in my step. And I said, wow, this is how everybody else feels. This is how everybody else feels. And for a moment, I thought I had a spiritual awakening. And for a moment, I had arrived. Today, when I look back at my story and I look back into why did I drink? Why did I do drugs? Why did I do alcohol? This is the way I lay it out. And I want y'all to listen to this. This is something great that you can at 30 minutes into the show, you can show someone this is what addiction is. Ready? When I go into my mind, all right, and I start thinking about the future alone, isolated, by myself, no God, no program, no recovery. And I go into my mind and I go into the future and I start thinking, I immediately get into fear. I get into anxiety. I get into paranoia. I get scared. I get skitsy. Okay. Can you relate to this? I don't like that feeling. Okay. So I'm not going to tell anybody how I'm feeling because I'm seeing people in the world. I'm seeing people on TV and they don't look like they feel the way that I'm thinking. Okay. So I shift the view. I go to the past because I'm trying to change the way I feel. When I go into the past, into my head alone, all right, I start feeling resentful, angry. How many of y'all suffer with depression? Depressed, tired, lethargic, no drive, don't like this feeling, resentful, angry, rageful. I don't like that feeling. So I shift the view again. Ready? I shift the view and I go back to the future. So I'm doing this dance. I'm going to the future, the past, the future to the past, future to the past. And I am irritable, I'm restless, and I'm discontent. Then I start trying to change the way I feel to fit in. So I start lying. I start making up stories that I did things. I want people to accept me. I'm doing all of these things to try to get people to accept me because I'm trying to change the way I feel. And then all of a sudden, I am introduced, and I'm trying everything. I'm trying video games. I'm trying food. I'm trying pornography. I'm trying all these things to slow this down because I'm doing this thing back and forth. Then all of a sudden, I get introduced to alcohol. Now, this is water. And I do this. I drink this alcohol and I go, And I had this awakening because for temporarily, just a chill a second, I experience being in the now, the future quiet, the past quiet, and I'm right here. And I get like this, and my chest bows up. I'm looking around, I'm smiling. People are looking at me, they're high-fiving me. I'm singing better, I'm dancing better, I'm dropping F-bombs. Man, I am a part of the group. And in order to maintain this spiritual awakening, in order to maintain this feeling of being safe, in order to maintain that I'm willing to go to any lengths to stay there. So what do? I drink more and I use more and I do more and more and more and more. And as I'm doing more and more and more and more, it catches up with me and I start getting consequences. Now, when I get consequences, I start feeling fear. I start getting scared. So what is my solution to make the consequences go away? Do hashtag drink more. Do hashtag use more. So now my solutions are bizarre. Bizarre because my solutions is I'm drinking and using more and more and more and more to stay there. And now loved ones, now family members, okay, and loved ones and friends and coworkers are asking me the question, why are you doing what you're doing? And I get angry. And when I get angry, to make the anger go away, I drink and use more. And then to make the anger and all that go away, then I start isolating and I drink and I use more. And the real reason I get angry and I isolate is because I don't know why I drink and do more. Because I am so focused and addicted and mentally obsessed with drugs and alcohol because I'm trying to stay in the now. That's why I drank and did drugs. I was trying to stay in the now. I was so confused because everybody around me was happy, joyous, and free. And guess what? They're not. That's why when you hear people say, I'm a grateful, recovering drug addict, alcoholic, the reason why we say that is because now we have tools to process fear, resentment, anger, rage, isolation, paranoia. And what is that solution? We pick up the phone and we call another alcoholic and another drug addict, and we simply say, I'm tripping. Tripping. So M2, how did you have this awakening? What happened? If you heard my story before, okay? If you heard my story before, when I was incarcerated, arrested for the 27th time, all right? An illiterate lifer, murderer is in my cell and he asked me to read to him. Read to him. Ready? Read to him. Hold on. He asked me to read. So I read to him. I said, I got you. He's 70-something years old. I started reading to him the Bible. Now, I did a post on Michael Mulfin fan page, and it went nuts, okay? The hardest book to find in the public school district is the Bible. The easiest book to find in prison is the Bible. Go figure. You've heard me say that before if you've watched the show. Anyways, so I'm reading to him. 4 days go by. Because when I was incarcerated, I couldn't get drugs. I couldn't get alcohol. All right. I was miserable. I couldn't kill myself. I was doing everything I could, and I was about to crawl out. I was losing my mind. I was losing my mind. I was going nuts. Nuts. I wanted to die. I didn't believe in God, but I was praying to God to kill me and donate my organs to someone who could use them. I was losing it. But then I started reading to this guy. 4 days go by. 4 days. And I started getting this sense of ease and this sense of peace. And I started realizing wait a minute, what's happening to me? Why did I get that sense of ease and peace that alcohol gave me? Here's the answer. Service work. I'm going to say it again. Do it. Hashtag service work. Service work. I was reading to a guy that did not know how to read. I was reading the word of God to a guy that wanted to be fed the word of God, who believed in God and he wanted it. And as I was reading it to him, I was a non-believer that became a believer. In prison, from a lifer, through a book that I started reading. Why did 4 days go by? Because I was out of self. I was helping another drug addict. And God was using me to help him. God was using him to help me. And I was living in the now. Right here, right now. So let me show you something real quick. Let me show you something. Don't go anywhere. All right. This was the book right here. Right here. See this? Brand new. This was the book that I would read to him. Now it was black words on white paper. It didn't mean a thing to me. I was just reading it to him. But he was so into it. He's like, yeah, Rabbit. They call me Rabbit. Hashtag Rabbit. Rabbit, man, that's such good stuff. We keep reading that. Read to me about Luke. Read to me about John. Read to me about Matthew. And I was reading all these books to him, okay? And then it started speaking to me. This book right here today is this book. Look how beaten up it is. It's my sword. And I became a believer when I was incarcerated. Today, recovery. When I go into the future, not in my head, but when I go into the future with another man in recovery, sponsor, mentor, therapist, okay? I go into the future with him, okay? The feeling is hope. Hope. Hashtag hope. But when I go into the past with God or another man in recovery, the feeling is gratitude. That's recovery. And I have learned that the safest place in the entire world that we always chase with drugs and alcohol, ready? The safest place in the entire world is right here, right now, because this is what's happening. Okay. Right here, right now. This is what happened. This is the safest place in the world because that's where God's at. See, this disease wants me to go into the future alone in my head. That's what the disease wants me to do. Satan, the dark side. That's what the disease wants me to do. The disease wants me to go into the past, into my head, all alone. It wants me to isolate. This disease wants me to isolate and get into my head all alone. And I do it. I struggle with this daily. Do y'all, I know y'all struggle with this, okay? I know you struggle with this. When you have anxiety, okay? If you're struggling with anxiety, you get anxious inside. Let me tell you what it is. It's because you're going into the future without God. End of discussion. That's why we're going. In today's society, and I'm not a doctor, so don't put me on blast when I say this. So many people get prescribed medication for anxiety, and the real solution is to sit down and talk to somebody. Because every time we go to a support group meeting, we start getting this sense of peace. Have you ever gone to a support group meeting and you go to a noon meeting at about 12:35, you start feeling better? What is that? That is community, that's fellowship, that's connection. But let me tell you what it is. It's God. God. That's what it is. It's God doing for ourselves what we cannot do for ourselves. God's doing it. We're not. That God's doing it. We're not. That's what it is. So when you struggle with anxiety and you're struggling with that, my experience 100% of the time is because I'm in the future in my head all alone. And when we're in recovery and we've accepted Christ and made a decision to turn, when we were in recovery, we made a decision to turn our will and life over to the care of God as we understand it. My experiences, the anxiety feels different now because I know what the solution is. The solution is I got to stop. I got to give it to God, and I need to call someone immediately. I've got to do that. That's what I have to do. It's not for me personally. Don't quote me on this. This is dangerous territory. For me, I used to always go to a psychiatrist. Give me something. I'm so anxious. I'm so anxious. I'm about to crawl out of my skin. I'm about to lose my mind. I'm about to crawl out of my skin. You know what I need to do? I need to get quiet. I need to get centered. I need to talk to another man in recovery for that man to give me a good listening to. And I'll usually talk myself into a complete circle. How do you get into the now? Let me tell you, this is my suggestion of how you get into the now. You ready? What are you grateful for? Huh? List. That'll get you in the now. That will get you in the now. Another thing that works for me on how to get into the now, when I start future tripping, okay, and I get way out there and I'm tripping, what's your sobriety date? Put your sobriety date right now in the comments. I want to see people put your sobriety date in the comments, and then I'm going to tell you how to get in the now. I will give you the greatest suggestion that works for me. When I start seeing these sobriety dates coming up, I am going to give you a great suggestion that will get you into the now. Okay. Do you ever catch yourself financial insecurity? Do you ever catch yourself getting way out there? You start thinking about your finances and how am I going to retire? And what am I going to be doing in 25 years and all that stuff? Do you ever catch yourself doing that? Okay. Tripping, future tripping. All right. So here we go. Here's the sobriety dates. Here's a great tip. Caldwell Counseling Center right here. If you want to get in the now, ready? His sobriety date is 8/10/2009. Y'all ready? Watch this. Do you want to go back to 8/9/2009? Do you want that day back? Probably not. That'll get you grateful real quick. That'll get you grateful really quick. Here we go. Congratulations, by the way, on these days. July 21st, 2013. You ready? Do you want July 20th? Do you want July 20th back? We go the day before we got sober, for me, was a dark, dark day. And it makes me so grateful where I'm at today. Does that make sense? I get so grateful. Look at your sobriety date. Be grateful. Go back to your sobriety date and look at that. Be great. Look at where you are on that sobriety date. Okay. 3/12, Opal, 2017. Look where it's 8/10/2020. Look at where you're at today. Look at that. Look at that. Yeah. Never again. Never again. Lance, 7/7/18. Right here. 7/7/18. Do you want 7/6 back? Do you want 7/6 back? Huh? Mine is 5/29/2017. May 29th, 2017. I do not want May 28th back. No way. That was a dark, I was in denial. I was running the show. I was miserable. I mean, listen, I was out there getting it with 4 felonies over my head on the run. Okay. That is the most paranoid feeling in the world. I could not use and drink enough to make the noises go down. I could not. It was out there. So that's how we live in the now. And that's what addiction is. Okay. Addiction. So we start seeing it, addiction. People go in the future, the past, future, the past, future, the past, future, the past, future, the past. And then they find something to slow them down, whether it be, okay. They find things to slow them down. Just like this on day 1 that Dr. Tony Evans says, okay. Drugs. Wow, that felt good. I'm going to do more. Sex, pornography, alcohol, relationships, okay? Negative self-talk, work, food, gambling, shopping, all of these things, we have to check ourselves. Is my addiction active? Am I active in active addiction? When I go buy something today, I really process it. Why am I buying this? Is this a want or a need? Okay. Wants, for me, a want, I've got to run it by a sponsor. A want can be relapse behavior. A want. Okay. A want. I went and bought new jogging shoes. Rachel took me, we got new jogging shoes. Okay. Because my shoes were worn. I had holes in them because I walk all the time. Right. Man, it was like the biggest purchase of my life. And I've made some big ones, but this was like a really big purchase for me. But it was a need. And there was this sense of ease that God said, get these shoes. Okay. It may sound like a crazy example, but it's real. That's real for me today. I have to walk through that because I'm scared of the relapse behaviors. Okay. Relapse behaviors, because once these relapse behaviors don't fix the need, then I start drinking and using, and I don't know how I got there. All right. Let's jump to something else real quick. I hope this is helpful. One thing is I want to talk to y'all about in the 12 steps, they have what's called the spiritual principles behind each step. So we're going to end the show with this real quick. Step 1, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol or drugs or sex or pornography or gambling, and that our lives had become unmanageable. Okay. So step 1, the spiritual principle behind it is honesty, right? Honesty. All right. So here we go. Hold on. This is really good. This is how we get, here's, speaking of honesty, here's step 1 right here. We admitted we were powerless over spending and that our lives had become unmanageable. Brian, I see you a lot on the show, Brian, and I appreciate you. This is practicing a spiritual principle right here. The man is getting honest. What is the solution? Okay. What is the solution? When I am overspending, okay, I have a spiritual disconnect. I am trying to fill a void. Okay. Me, I don't know what Brian's doing, but me, if I'm doing this, I am trying to fill something that needs to be filled with something invisible, not visible. So Brian, I want to challenge you, call your sponsor, call your accountability partner and say, listen, I need to sit down and I need to work through this. Okay. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? I need to look out for that, because for me, if I'm doing that, I am in relapse. Okay. I'm not saying you are. I am. I would be in full-blown relapse in that, because what's happening is I'm trying to change the way I feel. That's my story on overspending. I used to do it. I used to do it all the time. So Brian, reach out, get help for this, because what happens is once you look at it, Brian, and figure out why I'm doing this, you get stronger. See, that's the great result of being honest. When I get honest, I'm giving God permission to show me grace. When I'm honest, I'm giving him permission to show me grace. And that's what works in my life. So good stuff right there. Huge problem overspending. I think a lot of us can relate to that. A lot of us can relate to that. Oh, it's not that big a deal. I'm not drinking and drugging. Not yet. It's coming. It's coming if I don't check myself. And Brian, this is a great example. This is why we do a 10th step every night. We continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admit it. Now, let me do an M2 swing on this, all right? We continue to take a personal inventory each night and get stronger. That feels good. I do a personal inventory and admit that I'm wrong. And as a result of that, I get stronger, right? Step 2, the spiritual principle behind step 2 is hope. Came to believe there's a power greater than ourselves to restore us to sanity. And step 3, made a decision to turn our will and lives over the care of God as we understood him. Faith, okay? Faith is pretending. Let's just pretend that God knows what he's talking about, okay? Let's just pretend. Let's just pretend like he knows what he's talking about. That's faith. This is something interesting about faith. I had a conversation with a guy on the phone last night from Boston. This is, and y'all can try this too. When you're working with someone who is in active addiction, okay, this is what's amazing. And they're atheists and they don't believe in a higher power. I get it, dude. I get it. That's why we drink and do drugs. Okay. I'm looking for something visible to fix my invisible pain. Right. But why is it when I'm talking to someone, 12-stepping them, and I say, let me ask you something. They go, man, I just can't imagine going the rest of my life with no drugs and alcohol. I can't make it. I can't do this. Every single time I say, let me ask you this. Can you go the next 3 minutes without drugs and alcohol? Pfft, yeah, no problem. Every time. I've never had one person say, no way. I've never. I go, can you go 3 minutes without drugs and alcohol? They go, yeah, I can do that. I mean, who can't do that? I can do that. Why can you do that? Because that's they can see that. That's realistic. That's real. That's where we got to get to. That's faith. They have faith that in 3 minutes, just 3 minutes, start the timer, boom, 3 minutes. And they go, boom, told you I can go 3 minutes. That's faith. And then the faith gets bigger. Then it goes to 4 minutes. Then our faith gets bigger and goes to 5 minutes. Then our faith gets bigger and goes to a week. Then our faith gets bigger and it goes to 11 years. Today, that's faith. Faith that I know that if I don't drink and I don't drug, it's going to be okay. Faith, the spiritual principle. My personal suggestion. Okay, ready? The sooner we do step 3, the sooner we get better. That's my story. Okay. Whoa, Matthew Hall. Good to see you, my friend. Welcome to the show. Holy smokes. Welcome. Good to see you, Matt Hall, longtime friend of M to the Rock. So good to see you. Wow. The sooner that we do step 3, made a decision to turn our will and life over to the care of God, I truly believe that that's where the victory starts for me. That's my story. Okay. 2002, I did half of step 1. 2017, walked out of the penitentiary doing step 3, made a decision. Step 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Step 4, courage. The spiritual principle behind that is courage, firmness of mind and will in the face of extreme difficulty, mental or moral strength to withstand fear. Courage. I've got to go do a moral inventory of my immoral behavior. And at the end of step 4, I go to step 5 and tell people about it. And guess what happens? My character defects are exposed and they become my greatest assets. Go figure, right? That's where God takes a mess like us and turns it into a ministry. Okay. So that's, and then step 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being, the exact natures of our wrong. The spiritual principle behind that is integrity. Integrity, the quality or state of being complete or undivided soundness. Step 6, willingness. Step 6 is willingness. Prompt to act or respond, accepted and done of choice or without reluctance. To try is the beginning of doing our part. Willingness to try is the beginning of doing our part. However grand or humble that might be, it is a state of readiness replacing depression and anxiety. That's right, willingness. And then real quick, step 7 is humility. Step 8, brotherly love. Step 9, discipline. We made direct amends to the ones that we had hurt. Okay, discipline, training that corrects, molds, or perfects the mental faculties or moral character to bring under control, to train or develop by instruction. Step 10, perseverance. Step 11, spirituality. And step 12, service work. Service work. These steps are in order for a reason. These are the spiritual principles behind all of these steps, and it works if you work it. This Monday show has come to a close. Thank y'all, everyone, for who attended tonight. Watch this tonight. Thank you for sharing it out. Tomorrow night, you don't want to miss Hannah Faubert. Hannah Faubert, a recovery coach. She's been on before. She's got a great following here in Dallas, and we're super excited to have her on the show tomorrow night. We're going to be talking about a recovery coach. We're going to be talking about what a recovery coach does, why they do it, how it works. We're going to do all that tomorrow night right here on M to the Rock. I got 3 words. I got 8 letters, and it's got one meaning, and that is I love you. Good night, everyone.